Dr. Lyra Novik stared at the holographic notification floating above her desk, its pale blue light casting shadows across her face. The message was brief, but its implications were staggering. Report to Diplomatic Suite 7, Priority Alpha, Clearance Level Ultraviolet. She glanced at the quantum array humming in the corner of her lab, where crystal matrices pulsed with the potential breakthroughs she'd been pursuing for months. Now, it seemed, her research would have to wait. The journey to the diplomatic wing of New Singapore's terrestrial defense tower took exactly 12 minutes. Lyra spent each one trying to decode why a quantum biologist specializing in crystalline life forms would be summoned to a diplomatic meeting. Her security clearance had never extended beyond research parameters before. Director Julian Rhodes waited for her, his dark skin contrasting sharply with the sterile white of the diplomatic suite. Behind him stood Commander Vera Winters, her military uniform adorned with the silver pins of Earth's interstellar defense force. "Dr. Novik," Rhodes began, his voice carrying the weight of carefully chosen words, "what do you know about the Asturian Empire?" Lyra's mind immediately went to her research. Their crystalline biology is fascinating. Their neural pathways are actually latticed with living crystal that responds to— "Not their biology," Winters interrupted. "Their politics." "Oh," Lyra shifted uncomfortably. "They're our strongest potential allies in the Orion Arm, highly advanced but traditionally isolationist. Recently more open to diplomacy, though tensions still exist with their more conservative factions." Rhodes nodded, bringing up a holographic display. An image materialized. A feminine figure with skin that seemed to be carved from living opal, patterns of light flowing beneath the surface like aurora borealis. Even in the static image, there was something haunting about her beauty. "This is Princess Naren of the Asturian Empire," Rhodes explained. "As of tomorrow, she will be your responsibility." Lyra blinked. "I'm sorry, my what?" "The princess has been," Winters paused, "gifted to Earth as a gesture of diplomatic goodwill. She requires specialized care due to her unique condition." The commander brought up another image, this one showing the princess seated in what appeared to be a highly advanced mobility suite, a wheelchair, but one that seemed to be built from the same crystalline technology as Asturian ships. "What condition?" Lyra asked, her scientific curiosity overtaking her diplomatic confusion. "Neural suppression," Rhodes said quietly. "The official story is that she suffered an accident. The reality is more complicated. She attempted to expose corruption within the imperial court. Her punishment was exile and—" He gestured to the image, "this." Lyra felt her throat tighten. "They paralyzed their own princess." "The Asturians call it neural realignment," Winters explained. "It's meant to be temporary, but the technology is specific to their biology. Earth scientists haven't been able to reverse it." "And you think I can?" Rhodes and Winters exchanged glances. "Officially, you're being assigned as her caretaker and cultural liaison," Rhodes said carefully. "Unofficially, your research into crystalline neural networks might be valuable." "But no pressure," Winters added with a slight smile that suggested exactly the opposite. The next 24 hours passed in a blur of security briefings, protocol reviews, and hasty arrangements to have Lyra's lab equipment transferred to a new facility adjacent to the diplomatic residences. She barely slept, spending most of the night reading everything she could access about Asturian biology and culture. When morning came, Lyra stood in the arrival chamber, her heart pounding as the air shimmered with the distinctive ripple of a quantum transfer. The princess materialized with her honor guard, tall, crystalline beings whose bodies seemed to be carved from living gemstones. But it was Naren who commanded attention. Her mobility suite hummed with a subtle resonance that Lyra could feel in her bones. The princess's skin, once luminescent according to the records, now held only a faint ghost of its former glory. Her eyes, though, they burned with an intensity that no neural suppression could dim. "Princess Naren," Lyra said, bowing as she'd been instructed. "I'm Dr. Lyra Novik. I've been assigned as your—" "Jailer," Naren's voice was like wind through crystal chimes, beautiful even in its bitterness. Or perhaps handler is the term your people prefer. The honor guard shifted uncomfortably, but Lyra met the princess's gaze. I prefer doctor, actually, and I'd like to help you if you'll let me. Something flickered in Naren's expression, surprise, perhaps, or curiosity, but it was quickly replaced by the same cold mask. Help me adjust to my exile, you mean? How kind. Her fingers moved across the controls of her mobility suite with practiced grace. Show me to my quarters, doctor. I find this transfer chamber restrictive. As Lyra led the way, she couldn't help but notice how the princess's movements, though limited, carried an innate elegance. Even bound, even exiled, Naren radiated a presence that made the air itself feel charged with potential. This wasn't going to be simple cultural exchange or scientific research. Lyra could feel it in the way her own molecular structure seemed to resonate in the princess's presence. This was going to change everything, for both of them. What Lyra didn't know yet was whether that change would heal two worlds or shatter them both. 3 weeks into her assignment, Lyra found herself staring at test results that defied conventional physics. The neural suppressor binding Naren wasn't just technology. It was alive, growing like a parasitic crystal through her nervous system. You're doing it again, Naren's melodic voice carried from across the lab. That little crease between your eyebrows when you're puzzling over something. It's rather endearing, actually. Lyra looked up, caught off guard by the hint of warmth in the princess's tone. These moments had been happening more frequently lately, brief cracks in Naren's icy facade that revealed something softer underneath. The suppressor, Lyra said, projecting the crystalline structure into the air between them. It's not just blocking your neural pathways, it's adapting, learning. Naren's expression darkened. Of course it is. The ancestral crystals were never meant to be used this way, to twist their purpose like this. She trailed off, her iridescent skin dimming with emotion. Tell me about them, Lyra asked softly. The ancestral crystals. My research only shows fragments of information. For a moment, Lyra thought Naren would refuse, as she had so many times before. But instead, the princess guided her mobility sweet closer to the hologram. They were our first teachers, she began, her voice taking on an almost reverent quality. When my people were young, the crystals taught us to sing to the molecules themselves, to dance with quantum possibilities. We learned to grow our cities, to heal, to travel between stars. Her fingers traced patterns in the air. What they did to me. It's a perversion of everything they represent. Lyra moved closer, drawn by both the scientific implications and the raw pain in Naren's voice. Your father ordered this. My father signs the documents, but he's merely a puppet now. Naren's laugh was sharp as broken glass. The conservative coalition holds the real power. They saw my evidence of their weapons trading, their experiments on other species. They couldn't risk me speaking out. But they didn't kill you. Death would have made me a martyr. Naren's eyes met Lyra's. This way, I'm just another failed revolutionary bound and exiled, a cautionary tale. Lyra reached out, almost touching Naren's hand before catching herself. I've been running simulations. If we could introduce a resonant frequency that matches your natural crystal lattice. It would kill me. Naren's voice was flat. The suppressor is encoded with my genetic signature. Any attempt to override it triggers a cascade failure. Unless, Lyra pulled up another hologram, this one showing a complex molecular dance, we introduce a third pattern, something that could harmonize the discordance. Naren studied the simulation, her eyes widening slightly. Human DNA? You want to use your own genetic pattern as a buffer. Theoretically, it could work. Human neurons don't respond to crystalline manipulation the same way. We could create a kind of quantum bridge. And if you're wrong, then we both suffer severe neural damage, Lyra shrugged. But I've triple-checked the calculations. Why? Naren's question was barely a whisper. Why risk everything for me? Before Lyra could answer, alarms blared through the complex. Director Rhodes's voice crackled over the comm. Dr. Novik, secure the princess. We have unauthorized ships entering Earth's atmosphere. Naren's mobility suite hummed to life, defensive protocols engaging. The coalition, she said, her voice tight. They must have discovered what you've been researching. How could they? Lyra's question was cut off by the lab doors sliding open. Commander Winters burst in, her uniform singed. We need to move. Now. The Asterian delegation just received orders to recall the princess immediately. On what grounds? Lyra demanded, already moving to gather her crucial research data. Apparently, Winters said grimly, there's been a coup. The Emperor has been temporarily relieved of duty for health reasons. They're demanding all diplomatic exchanges be suspended. Narine's face went still. My brother. No word yet, Your Highness. Lyra watched the princess's hands tighten on her mobility suite's controls. The decision that had been building for weeks crystallized in an instant. Commander, Lyra said, pulling up encrypted files on her quantum array, I need 20 minutes. Can you buy us that? Winters assessed her for a long moment, then nodded. Make it 15. She turned to secure the door. Lyra, Narine's voice held a warning. If you do this, there's no going back. Your career, your life here. I know. Lyra began calibrating the quantum field generator. But some things are worth the risk. As she initiated the harmonization sequence, Lyra caught a glimpse of their reflection in the lab's crystalline walls. Human and Asterian, scientist and princess, each broken in their own ways but somehow stronger together. The air crackled with possibility as molecules began their dance. Behind them, explosions rocked the building. They had minutes at most before their time ran out. But in that moment, as the quantum bridge began to form between them, Lyra saw something she never expected. Narine smiled, and her skin began to glow. The safe house was little more than a forgotten research outpost in the Australian outback, but it had something crucial, a quantum dampening field that masked their signatures from Asterian sensors. Lyra watched the sunrise paint the desert in shades of amber, her mind racing with the events of the past 48 hours. The partial success of the harmonization procedure had left Narine with limited movement and flickering abilities, enough to aid their escape, but far from a complete restoration. Now the princess sat beside her, no longer in the mobility suite but still requiring support to stand or walk for long periods. You're thinking too loudly again, Narine observed, her skin shimming faintly in the morning light. I can feel your neurons firing from here. Lyra smiled despite their situation. Side effect of the quantum bridge, or are you just getting better at reading me? Perhaps both. Narine stretched out her hand, watching as patterns of light danced beneath her skin. Though I must admit, having your genetic pattern harmonizing with mine is intimate in ways I hadn't anticipated. Before Lyra could respond, their security system chimed. Commander Winters' encrypted signal. The holographic projection showed the commander looking more exhausted than Lyra had ever seen her. We've confirmed the situation in the Asterian Empire. Prince Talon is alive, but under house arrest. The coalition is claiming he and his father were part of a plot to destabilize the empire through illegal genetic experiments. Genetic experiments? Narine's voice was sharp. They're trying to frame my brother for their own crimes. There's more, Winters continued. They're saying you were the test subject, Princess, that your condition was self-inflicted during a failed attempt to enhance your abilities beyond legal limits. Lyra watched as Narine's newfound control slipped, crystal formations spreading across the floor in response to her anger. She reached out, taking the princess's hand. The contact sent tingles through their shared quantum connection, but it had the desired effect. The crystals stopped growing. What about Earth's position? Lyra asked, not letting go. Officially, we're maintaining neutrality while investigating these serious allegations. Winter's expression showed what she thought of that policy. Unofficially, Director Rhodes is gathering evidence of the Coalition's weapons program, but we need proof of their genetic experiments to counter their narrative. Narine went still. The medical facility on Helios Station, that's where they developed the suppressor technology. All their research would be there. Which is precisely why it's the most heavily guarded installation in Asterian space, Winters pointed out. Not from the inside. Narine turned to Lyra, her eyes intense. The quantum bridge between us, it's not just sharing genetic patterns, is it? I've been feeling echoes of your thoughts, your emotions. Lyra nodded slowly. The resonance is stronger than I expected. In theory, we could. Amplify it, Naren finished. With your human neural pattern protecting mine and our combined abilities. You could bypass their security protocols, Winters caught on, but it would mean getting you both onto that station. The risk is necessary, Naren stated firmly. My people are suffering under the Coalition's corruption. How many others have they experimented on? How many more will they hurt? A notification flashed on their secure channel. Director Rhodes appeared beside Winters in the hologram, his usual composure cracking. We have a problem. The Coalition just announced Princess Naren's execution. What? Lyra stepped forward. But she's here. Exactly, Rhodes said grimly. They're going to publicly execute a double claiming you violated their laws. It's scheduled for tomorrow. They're trying to provoke Earth, Naren realized. If your government protests the execution, they'll reveal I'm alive and accuse Earth of harboring a criminal. If you stay silent. We look complicit in your supposed crimes, Winters finished. Either way, they get their excuse for military action. Lyra felt Naren's hand tighten in hers. Through their connection, she sensed not fear, but a fierce determination. Then we have no choice, Lyra said. We have to reach Helios Station before the execution. I have a contact, Winters offered. A smuggler who specializes in impossible situations. She can get you close, but after that. After that, Naren's skin began to glow brighter. We improvise. Rhodes looked between them. The quantum bridge is still experimental. We don't know how it will hold under stress. Actually, Lyra smiled slightly, I think it's holding exactly as it should. She turned to Naren, their shared resonance humming with possibility. Ready to dance with some molecules, Your Highness. Naren's answering smile was fierce. My dear doctor, I thought you'd never ask. As they began planning their infiltration, Lyra caught their reflection in the window. Human and Asterian, their quantum patterns swirling together like binary stars locked in orbit. Whatever came next, they would face it as neither princess and subject, nor doctor and patient, but as equals bound by something deeper than duty or science. The desert sun climbed higher, casting their shadows long across the red earth. They had 24 hours to prevent a war, save an empire, and perhaps most challenging of all, trust in a connection that defied the very laws of physics itself. Helios Station hung in space like a crystal cathedral, its geometric patterns refracting starlight in hypnotic waves. From their position in the smuggler's ship, Lyra could almost pretend they were here to admire its beauty. Almost. Captain Reza, Naren addressed their pilot, your payment has been transferred. You should leave before. Before this goes sideways. The smuggler's dark eyes crinkled with amusement. Princess, everything interesting goes sideways. Good luck, both of you. As they made their way through maintenance corridors, Lyra felt their quantum bridge pulse stronger. Naren's steps were steadier now, though she still occasionally needed support. More concerning was how their emotional bleed-through had intensified. Lyra could feel Naren's anxiety mixing with her own. The medical labs are 2 levels up, Naren whispered, her skin dimming to match the low light. But first we need to... Well, well, a voice echoed through the corridor. The prodigal princess returns. A figure stepped from the shadows, tall, crystalline, with patterns of light that mirrored Naren's. But where her glow was like starlight, his burned like cold fire. Counselor Ven, Naren's voice was ice, still hiding in dark corners. Still consorting with lesser species, he gestured to Lyra. Though I must admit your pet scientist has proved more resourceful than we anticipated. The quantum bridge was unexpected. Lyra felt Naren's rage through their connection. You used my own people's sacred knowledge to cage me. Did you really think I wouldn't find a way to fight back? Fight back, Ven laughed. My dear, you've played exactly into our hands. Your escape, your touching rebellion, all of it orchestrated to bring you here, to prove how dangerous you've become. Guards materialized from hidden alcoves, weapons trained on them. But Lyra was focused on something else. the way Ven's crystal patterns pulsed with familiar resonance. "You've modified yourself," she realized aloud. "You're using the same technology you developed for the suppressor." "Enhanced, not suppressed." Ven's skin flared. "The future of our species lies in controlled evolution, not diplomatic weakness. Your father never understood that." "Where is he?" Naren demanded. "Where is my brother?" "Safe for now." Ven stepped closer. "Though their fate depends entirely on your cooperation, the Coalition requires proof that our methods work. You will submit to the procedure willingly, or you'll kill them anyway," Naren finished. "Like you plan to kill my double today." Lyra felt something shift in their quantum bridge, a resonance she hadn't anticipated. Naren's emotions weren't just bleeding through anymore, they were synchronizing. Ven must have sensed it too, his weapon charged with a high-pitched whine. "How touching, you've actually grown attached to your human. Perhaps we should study you both. The interaction between your quantum patterns is fascinating." "Lyra," Naren's thought echoed in their shared consciousness. "Do you trust me?" "Always." "Then dance with me." Everything happened at once. Naren pulled Lyra close, their quantum patterns suddenly spinning together like galaxies colliding. The harmonics they'd carefully maintained exploded into chaos, but it was controlled chaos, a symphony of possibility. Guards' weapons shattered as crystalline formations erupted from the walls. Ven's enhanced abilities clashed against their combined resonance, sending shockwaves through the station. "This is impossible," he snarled. "The suppressor was designed for one quantum pattern." Lyra grinned, feeling Naren's joy at their shared power. "We have two." The fight that followed was less combat than choreography. Lyra and Naren moved as one, their shared consciousness directing waves of crystalline energy. Guards fell back as emergency containment fields snapped into place. They fought their way to the medical labs, where Naren interfaced with the central computer. Through their connection, Lyra helped navigate the encryption, their combined knowledge making sense of the classified files. "It's all here," Naren breathed. "The weapons programs, the illegal experiments, everything we need to." Warning klaxons blared. Ven's voice echoed through the station. "You've left me no choice, Princess. If you won't be our proof of concept, you'll be our cautionary tale. Station containment protocols initiating." The air crackled with building energy. Through their connection, Lyra understood instantly. They were overloading the station's power core. "They're going to destroy Helios rather than let us expose them," Naren realized. "We have to." "Already on it?" Lyra's fingers flew over the console, using their shared knowledge to access emergency systems. "But we can't stop it completely." "Then we'll redirect it." Naren's hand found hers. "Together." As alarms screamed and crystal walls began to crack, Doctor and Princess stood at the heart of the storm. Their quantum bridge flared like a newborn star, channeling the station's destructive energy through their combined pattern. The last thing Lyra saw before consciousness faded was Naren's smile, bright as dawn, fierce as hope itself. Then everything went white. Lyra woke to the soft hum of medical equipment and the feeling of crystal beneath her fingers. She opened her eyes to find herself in an Asterian healing chamber, its walls alive with gentle pulses of light. "The mighty heroes awaken," a familiar voice said. Commander Winters sat beside her bed, looking both exhausted and amused. "You two certainly know how to make a statement." "Naren," Lyra tried to sit up, her quantum-linked senses reaching instinctively. Here, the princess emerged from an adjacent chamber, moving with newfound grace. Their connection hummed between them, changed but unbroken. "Though I believe we caused quite a scandal." "The explosion." "Contained, mostly." Winters pulled up a holographic report. "You redirected the bulk of the energy into the station's crystalline matrix. Created quite a light show, visible from 3 systems away. Hard to cover up an explosion like that." "And the Coalition?" "In custody." Director Rhodes entered, accompanied by a tall Asterian who bore a striking resemblance to Naren. "Thanks to the data you transmitted before everything went critical, though I suspect the political fallout will continue for some time." Brother Naren's voice softened. Father. Recovering, Prince Talon answered, and demanding a complete restructuring of the Imperial Council. It seems near-death experiences have made him rather passionate about reform. Lyra sat up carefully, noting how her own skin now held a faint crystalline sheen where it touched Naren's. The quantum bridge, it's permanent now, isn't it? A side effect of channeling that much energy. Naren sat beside her, their patterns automatically synchronizing. We've become something entirely new. The healers aren't quite sure what to make of it. Speaking of which, Rhodes cleared his throat, we need to discuss your status. Both of you, this level of human-Asterian integration is unprecedented. It's also exactly what we need, Talon interjected. The Coalition's fear of change, of evolution, nearly destroyed us. Perhaps it's time for a new perspective on integration. Winters nodded. Earth's Council agrees. They're proposing a joint research initiative, studying the potential benefits of controlled quantum harmonization between species. Under your leadership, Rhodes added, looking between Lyra and Naren. Assuming you're interested. Lyra felt Naren's response through their connection before she spoke. A mix of hope, determination, and something deeper, something that felt remarkably like love. We accept, they said in unison, then laughed at their perfect synchronization. There are conditions, Talon said, though his eyes twinkled, including a formal declaration of your relationship status. The Imperial Court is rather insistent on proper documentation for historic occasions. Naren raised an eyebrow. Historic occasions. The first legal marriage between a human and an Asterian royal, he clarified. Unless, of course, you'd prefer to maintain a purely professional. No, Lyra said quickly, feeling Naren's amusement. Professional wouldn't quite cover it. Later, as Earth's golden sunset painted the sky, Lyra and Naren stood in their private garden at the new Quantum Integration Research Center. Crystal formations grew in impossible patterns around them, responding to their combined influence. Having regrets, Naren asked, her fingers intertwined with Lyra's, about any of it. Lyra considered the changes in her own biology, the way their shared consciousness had permanently altered them both. About defying physics, starting an interstellar incident, and accidentally pioneering a new form of evolution. When you put it that way. Not for a moment. Lyra turned to face her, their quantum patterns dancing together like auroras. Though I do have one question. Though, that first day when you arrived, did you know that we would resonate like this? Naren's smile was soft. I knew you were different. You looked at me and saw neither a prisoner nor a princess. You saw. You, Lyra finished, just you. Their kiss sent ripples through the crystalline garden, molecules singing with possibilities that defied conventional science. But then, Lyra thought, the best kinds of love usually did. In the growing dusk, human and Asterian, scientist and royal, stood together, their quantum patterns eternally entangled, their future bright as the stars themselves. They had rewritten not just the laws of physics, but the rules of what was possible when hearts and minds dared to dance beyond the boundaries of the known universe. And somewhere in the spaces between molecules, new songs were waiting to be sung.